Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We're brought to you by Sterling Automotive. We had a little LSU Arkansas talk a little earlier. I'm not as educated in the Arkansas department as this next guy. I appreciate Tyler Cass coming on. Tyler, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Happy to do it.
Look at this, on the move. Look at you.
You got to get your steps in somehow in the TV game, you know?
I respect that. Look at that. Nice. Let's get to it, man. Look, Arkansas came into this season with a lot of expectations, very high expectations. They started the season off. They were playing well. Wow, that was good. That was a good sequence right there. That was nice. I think they've had some injuries. KJ Jefferson's been hurt. I think if you ask the coaching staff and the players, they probably have underachieved to this point. What's the feeling like in the locker room and around the program right now?
I think the feeling in the locker room versus the feeling on maybe social media is very different, because if you were to look at the Arkansas fan base right now, everything is burning down.
Fans are very reasonable. Fans are very reasonable.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have the same in Louisiana. Arkansas fans, this is kind of what they've got in terms of sports. And 2 weeks ago, everything was great. Everything was hunky-dory coming off that BYU win. Now, not so much, and they're talking about this like it's Chad Morris, which it's not. I mean, that's I think the first thing to clear up here. This is not what Arkansas was 3 years ago when you brought in a guy who couldn't win an SEC game and lost home games to North Texas and San Jose State and Western Kentucky, featuring a quarterback who he essentially cut. That's not what's going on here. It's a Hog team that's reeling, that's for sure. But I think at this point, the locker room, they've made it pretty clear that they see and they hear what's going on out there, and I think that it almost feels like they're ready to prove Arkansas fans wrong. So I think that's a lot of the motivation for them going into this week.
Which is kind of scary for LSU, obviously, because LSU goes down to Arkansas usually, and Arkansas gives them a game, usually beats them. Not usually, but in the past they've had some. No matter what the records are, this game always seems to be kind of a crapshoot. Does that kind of give them? Is that being talked about as far as like the history of this matchup? And I know they play for the big ass trophy that nobody can carry on the field, so they just keep it on there. Is that important? Is that something that's been talked about?
Yeah, the Hogs in their press conferences this week, the players have talked specifically about that trophy, about the boot, because that was kind of the whole deal last year with Sam Pittman. Was Arkansas's got 3 trophy games against A&M, against LSU, and then for whatever reason against Missouri. The Battle Line Trophy. I don't like to talk about that. But the real rivalry is Arkansas fans and Mizzou fans trying to prove harder that they care less about it. It's hilarious. I love it. Nice. But I think if Arkansas fans had to pick, this is the one they care the most about. It is the boot. And getting it back last year was Sam Pittman's huge focus. Was we got to win these trophy games. It was the first time, I think, since the advent of them that they won all 3. You guys remember last year, obviously, Cam Little with the field goal in overtime taken. That was huge. That kind of was one of the highlights of the season for Razorback fans. So, yeah, the trophy and this game particularly is something they get up for, even if it's 11 a.m. in Fayetteville. And I just talked to our meteorologist. We got a high of 44 degrees during game time. But
sunny?
Wet.
Partly cloudy, so that could be brutal. I got to be down there on the sidelines
Still
filming.
Daytime is better. Still daytime, better than a night game.
Yeah, well, if you're at LSU, you're used to that. I feel like in Death Valley, so maybe, like you said, not 40. Yeah, it's going to be a whole different kind of environment. But Hog fans will be up and ready. They've been angry drinking since last Saturday, so they'll be prime and ready.
And LSU fans have been happy drinking.
Yeah, LSU fans have been happy drinking. Hopefully not on the jubilation hangover, more on like, hey, we got to figure out something. What happened? Like you talked about last week. What happened last weekend? Obviously, Liberty is not like it's a terrible team, right? Liberty is a good football team. They've won in the past. They've won in the recent past. What happened last weekend? Why do you think that Arkansas couldn't pull it out? I know they had a chance at the end to tie it, but what do you think went wrong?
Right. And you're Arkansas. You're an SEC team that, Liberty was the ranked one, but the Hogs were still 2 touchdown favorites. You shouldn't need a 2-point conversion at the end of the fourth quarter to tie things up. What went wrong was the offense played its worst game of the season by far. They went into the locker room down 21-3 thanks to a 50-yard field goal that they only got because the Liberty penalty put them in field goal range. And long and short of it is KJ Jefferson. it's easy to say the offense goes as far as the quarterback, but that's certainly the case here. And KJ didn't look like himself. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury ever since the A&M game. The coaching staff finally cleared it up and said it's a bruised collarbone, which made sense. I mean, he looked like he was kind of trepidatious to throw the ball downfield. They had multiple 3rd and 10-plus yardage plays where he threw the ball 4 or 5 yards, and that's not going to get it done. I mean, he was questionable even as of game time. And now this week, we're seeing the same thing. I mean, Sam Pittman said Monday, he felt a lot better than last week. So he threw a lot more on Monday than he did pretty much all last week in practice. Then he woke up Tuesday and he was really sore because he had thrown Monday. And he woke up Wednesday. He felt better because he didn't throw on Tuesday, so he's going to throw today. So, I mean, they'll go as far as KJ goes, but if he even plays Saturday is up in the air. And at the same time, when they try to get the running game going, I mean, they've got Rocket Sanders, a guy who, with Tank Bigsby, probably has 1-2 as far as best running back nicknames in the SEC.
I was about to say, the greatest nickname, probably the greatest.
Great name.
You had Rocket versus Tank too. It was awesome. But yeah, and he lives up to it. I mean, I've got the little soundbite clipped up from earlier in the year when Sam Pittman said, that's why his mama named him Rocket, which isn't true. His mama named him Team. But I like to throw it out there. He led the SEC in rushing yards until last week when he couldn't get anything going against Liberty. And Pittman talked afterwards like the Liberty, defensive line was quicker than we could handle. And I mean, you got LSU coming in, they're not going to get slower.
Yeah, that's a little alarming.
Well, what's your take on it? Saturday morning comes. Do you think there is a somewhat healthy version of a KJ Jefferson that's out there, or do you think more of the same of what you got last week, or maybe less?
I mean, it's the catch-22, it seems like, of he needs to not throw in order to feel good, but they need him to throw in order to play well. Because they kind of said that's what happened last week, is he didn't throw in practice, and then they sort of like, all right, he didn't throw in order to get healthy. So when he played in the game, it looked like a guy who hadn't thrown a ball in a week. I mean, that's why that first half was so terrible. So now it's like, all right, we're going to get him to throw in practice more, but that hurts him more. So if I had to guess, I think KJ goes just because Malik Hornsby, the backup, is so raw. I mean, he's the second fastest guy in the team behind wide receiver Bryce Stevens, and he can throw the ball 70 yards if he wants to, but he misses easy 5-yard throws all the time. I mean, the talent is there. He's just really not refined at all. So I think if I had to guess, I think they start KJ, but if it's a situation like last week where I think they went 11 straight possessions without points, they're not going to let it get to that point. If KJ's out there and looks like he can't make the throws 5-6 possessions in the game, they'll go to Hornsby.
And that's what I was going to ask you about is the quarterback situation. If it's not KJ, I was wanted to get a preview for LSU fans as to what they can expect from the backup quarterback, because I've seen a couple on the roster. I didn't know if it was solidified, if it was Hornsby, or if it was, is it Cade, I believe?
Cade Fortin is the other backup. And you saw against Mississippi State. That's the game KJ didn't play because he was dealing with a concussion. And everyone was very... Exactly. And then our Alabama Twitter account posted that picture of their players standing over KJ. It was a whole thing. Arkansas Twitter, we could talk for hours about the cesspool that is that, but that's the SEC. Oh man, there's a whole thing. They're going out with the women's basketball teams going back and forth with fans now.
Oh no.
Ooh. Oh gosh, yeah, no, that's geez. But anyways, yes, you saw the big game. Cade Fortin got the start as their backup quarterback, and the reason that happened was because Malik Hornsby, who had been QB2 most of last season, is just so fast and so dynamic when he gets the ball in space that they've been running a lot of plays at practice with him at wide receiver, with Cade Fortin as the quarterback to try to get him the ball. And then against Mississippi State, that didn't work. So they had to switch to Hornsby at quarterback, and the offense actually kind of started rolling a little bit with Hornsby at quarterback against Mississippi State. They just dug way too deep a hole at that point. And then after that game, Sam Pittman said, okay, yeah, that experiment's over. Hornsby's not taking any more reps at wide receiver, which that's a whole waste of an offseason right there as far as quarterback goes, but oh well. So yeah, Hornsby is your QB2. He is ridiculously fast. They'll run lots of plays to try to get him the ball with any sort of running room, and he's got the arm. I mean, he can make throws when he just kind of closes his eyes and chucks it downfield and finds a receiver. It's the short and intermediate game. I mean, he missed a 4th and 3 from inside the 10 against Mississippi State, where the guy's just wide open. Those are the throws that he hasn't proven that he can make, or the ones that you kind of have to. So with Hornsby, I mean, it's all or nothing. It's the Hail Mary with his legs and with his arm.
Obviously, LSU, the way LSU started the season, the way LSU is playing right now, it's a completely different team. They've progressed, week in and week out. Right now, they seem like they're hitting on all cylinders. Going into this Arkansas game, obviously, there's a bunch of challenges. Arkansas has the ability to play with anybody because they came into the season with, a lot of hype. They have a lot of talent. If KJ Jefferson's healthy, they have the ability to do some big things. What does the challenge of an LSU and the way that they're playing football bring to Arkansas? Like, what is something that, you as an Arkansas fan who covers Arkansas is like, oh no, like if LSU does this, like I don't think we got a shot.
If LSU scores the ball, which they're going to do. I mean, first of all, it's the third thing. I went to Syracuse. I'm a Syracuse fan, so we don't need to talk about.
Hey, actually, Syracuse that's a solid year.
Yeah, no, started 6-0, 0-3 ever since. But
get Lovie Smith back.
Look, ever since Donovan McNabb getting bowl eligible has been the only thing that matters for Syracuse football. And look, basketball season just started. Shout out to that. That's the vibe there. It gets lacrosse season. That's a whole other thing. But no, I mean, look, here's what it comes down to. We haven't even talked about the Arkansas defense yet, and anyone from Arkansas who's watching is probably happy about that because right now the Arkansas defense is bad. They're not going to stop LSU. They played probably their best half of football of the season, the second half against Liberty when they needed to. But I mean, that LSU offense, Jane Daniels, that's a different monster. And the secondary is, they lost their best player in Jalen Catalon to a season-ending injury for the second year in a row. And since then, no one's really been able to fill that void. Their second best player in the secondary is Miles Slusher. He's not going to play because he was arrested on Dixon Street after the loss to Liberty last week.
So everybody handles adversity a different way.
Dixon Street will get.
Is that like, I guess that's like Reggie, so that's like
Tigerland for us, I think. Yeah.
Oh, and
it's the little strip off campus with all the bars. If we want to get real technical, he was on West Street, and anyone who's ever been to Fayetteville will nod their head and go, "Oh yeah, West. That's where the real danger is." They're going to be missing their top two guys in the secondary. One who's been gone since week 3 because of injury, and one who got arrested because he tried to pull a police officer off of his friend, another Razorback player who was also getting arrested. It was not a great weekend last week.
Hey, team chemistry's still there. What are you talking about? That's good. Team building.
Exactly. Great teamwork. You like to see the fight, even though they didn't really show it as well on the field. So they're suspended for at least this game. And then as for what that does, the secondary, it's been nonstop. Trying to rotate guys. Their best player in the secondary last week was a freshman named Quincy McAdoo, who was the #1 wide receiver recruit in the state of Arkansas, and who they moved back there because of injuries. And he blocked a punt and had an interception last week. So, they've got him now as a corner. You've got Dwight McLaughlin, who's probably been their most consistent guy all year, the transfer from LSU. Arkansas swapped DBs. Joe Fouché, of course, a guy Arkansas fans know and love, or at least loved before he transferred to LSU. And we kind of all talked over the summer about it looked pretty even, but now it does not look even. The Arkansas secondary has struggled. And the problem with Arkansas' defense right now is they have to sell out to stop one thing. Right. And if a team can do more than one thing, then they've pretty much been screwed. We saw against Mississippi State. Arkansas tried to do what they've been successful doing against the air raid. You drop 8, you rush 3, and say, okay, you're going to throw every time against us, we're going to defend that. And Mississippi State went short. And I think they set a record for a Mike Leach team at Mississippi State, at least, in terms of rushing attempts, and they outscored Arkansas still. Then against BYU, Arkansas tried the opposite. Sam Pittman said, I don't care if they rush for 400 yards, make them rush the ball. And they did, and Arkansas won that game, but BYU still put up a bunch of points. So right now, Arkansas is not good enough or healthy enough on defense to stop a complete team. And I don't think LSU is a complete team, but they're certainly better than teams that have had a lot of success against Arkansas.
And on behalf of Baton Rouge, I'd like to, formally apologize for taking Joe Fouché and Greg Brooks from you. We appreciate the trade. The 2-for-1 worked out on our end, but they've been electric. Whenever you talk about those two guys leaving, I was reading some stuff about LSU and Arkansas's players saying we still have a relationship with Fouché, we still have a relationship with Brooks, but it seems like from the fan base's perspective, I would imagine it's not quite the same. I guess it's not probably the same treatment that they're going to get in Arkansas.
Well, yeah, I mean, those guys, it's a locker room. They were all really good friends. They were here for a couple of years. Of course, they still communicate. Of course, I mean, these are guys who've been playing on the same circuit. Just a lot of them are LSU and Arkansas natives, since high school, since Pee Wee football, whatever. So they're going to stay friends. Fans, as you guys know, they tend to feel a bit more betrayed when you transfer, especially if it's in conference and especially if it's to a rival like LSU. So I'd imagine there's going to be some boo birds when those names are announced at Razorback Stadium. But yeah, I mean, among the players, they talked yesterday. We got to talk to players yesterday, and they said, oh yeah, we're still always talking to him. Trey Knox, Arkansas tight end, he's really excited. He's like, yeah, I got to go against him in practice for years, and it's all trash talk back and forth, and now we get to do it in the game. So that'll be fun for them. I'm sure you'll see lots of hugs, maybe pre and post game, but during the game, yeah, Arkansas fans are not going to give them the kindest of receptions.
As far as for a feeling from the staff, from the players inside that building, you talk about the last month of the season as an opportunity to to finish your season strong for whatever your cause may be, and obviously for an up and coming building program like Arkansas is trying to do to get over that hump right now. Coming into this last month of the season is important for them. Do you feel that sense of urgency when you talk to people inside that building about being able to close out that last month of the season on a very strong note and go into a bowl game situation?
Well, they also have the ability to be like dream wreckers, right? Because you play LSU and Mississippi.
Well, and that's what I mean. You start the season with a lot of expectations. It hasn't gone exactly that way, but you are on the verge of getting over the hump. Well, part of getting over the hump is finishing strong and being able to acquire those recruits through seeing what you're trying to do here. Do you feel that sense of urgency in the back half or the back part of the season right here?
Yeah, I think the Liberty game really was a wake-up call as far as that urgency, that motivation goes. Because they had talked a lot. They had that 3-game losing streak this year that, A&M and Alabama and Mississippi State. And the mood then was, well, we had a 3-game losing streak last year, went into the bye, and then won 4 of the last 5 games to finish with 9 wins in a bowl game. Let's do that this year. And then they went out and beat BYU, beat Auburn. It was kind of like, all right, this is going to be just like last year. But last year they had, I think, 15 super seniors, COVID seniors, whatever you want to call them on the team, who were those vocal leaders kind of behind that, who took the team after that 3-game losing streak and said, hey, we got to finish strong. This year kind of felt like they were coasting on, well, we did it last year, let's go out and do it this year. And then against some lesser competition in BYU and Auburn, you started to do it, but it was kind of like, okay, those are the games you should have won. You should have won Liberty as well. You didn't. I think that, it seems like, has kind of woken them up. They're kind of talking less of, well, we did this last year, we can do it this year, and now like, oh, we have to find some leadership from within. Those guys aren't there anymore, who were the vocal leaders last year. And, I mean, KJ is kind of that guy, but it's tough when you don't even know if that guy's going to be out there on the field for you. I mean, they talked last week. I mean, the wide receivers told us that they didn't know who was going to be the starting quarterback last week until about an hour before the game. So, yeah, KJ can still lead from the sidelines, but they've needed to find someone else. And it's kind of, you don't like that it's taken this far into the season for them to realize it, but it does sound like the Liberty game was a wake-up call. You wish, a 3-game losing streak could have been a wake-up call. But, again, when you lose to Alabama, unless you're LSU last week, I guess, you kind of not expect it, but it's not a wake-up call game. You go, okay, we lost to Alabama, on to the next one. You lose to Liberty, and it's, oh, man, that was our game that we thought was going to get us bowl eligible. Now we got 3 SEC games against a rival in LSU, and then Ole Miss, who's not a full-on rival, but they've got a weird relationship with Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, for about 2 hours, everyone thought he was going to come to Fayetteville. I had a whole story I could tell you guys, ready to go. Lane Kiffin to Fayetteville, right? Waiting to hit that publish button, and then it went to Ole Miss. Yeah, I've got like 3 or 4 of those that we made to be ready. And then
That's the worst.
Oh, yeah, you want to be ready to go? There's a lot of stuff. I've been here, this will be my 7th season covering the Hogs. I've been through 2 football coaching searches and a basketball one. I've got a lot of stories in the can of guys who didn't get hired. They'll never see the light of day that I worked real hard on. Oh, well. We want to see the Eli Drinkwitz to Arkansas one. That's fun.
It's good practice. Good practice.
And you mentioned,
Arkansas.
I'm sorry, yeah, you mentioned like they had the coaching changes and the turnover at Arkansas. I've been on I don't want to say the hill, but my comparison to what Sam Pittman is just Ed Orgeron in a different polo. And some of the things that you're describing sounds eerily similar to when Ed Orgeron started after LSU lost to Troy. It was kind of like, oh, this is a wake-up call. I feel like I've read this book before, and best of luck.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can totally see that as a guy. I'm from Los Angeles, grew up a big UCLA fan, so I remember rooting real hard against Orgeron at USC, but where the guy kind of, the interim, or in Sam Pittman's case, the offensive line coach, someone who's a lifelong, not a head coach who kind of gets that chance to really fully lead a program, and the players love him, the fans love him when they're winning, and then he's not fiery enough when they lose. So yeah, I mean, look, if the parallel continues, I think Arkansas fans would trade, mediocrity and having to fire Sam if it means they get a Joe Burrow type and a national championship. So, I mean, they'll take that, sure.
Very good point. Very good point. Now, we are a sports show, a fun show. We also like to dabble in the gambling realm. We're not very good at that. One of our sponsors is Caesar Sportsbook, so
that's where they sponsor us.
Yeah, they help us. We give them a lot of money because of the money that we don't. The line, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because
Sportsbook's going to give you money if you're losing that money.
Yeah, you're right, no doubt. And so the line at LSU Arkansas right now is LSU -3, which when it came out, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of a doesn't seem like it's as high as that we thought it was going to be after you win against Alabama at home and you're ranked 7th in the country.
And they're coming off.
Why do you think that? Obviously, you're not as sharp, you're not in Vegas, but what do you think? Like, do they think KJ Jefferson's going to play?
What don't we know?
Do you like that -3 line? What is your take on that?
I like LSU with that -3 line.
No doubt.
That's my take. I mean, why is that happening? I mean, an SEC home environment like you've got at Razorback Stadium is going to count for something. Maybe it's the Tigers like to play at night, and this is the morning, but I can tell you from when that was announced, Razorbacks don't like playing at the morning either. Oh, my God. The conspiracy theories abound in Fayetteville when it comes to what the SEC has against the Hogs somehow, despite the fact that, of course, it's the networks making those calls, not the SEC, but whatever. Yeah, no, I mean, I think if a KJ is announced to be out before that, expect that to creep way more towards LSU because, again, Malik Hornsby has a lot of the raw talent, but he's not there yet. Even as it is with KJ, he's not going to be 100%. That much we can guarantee. I like LSU to cover that and more. I mean, I would also. I don't know what the over/under is set for this. That's one where I say hammer the over because again, this Arkansas defense is bad, like bad.
I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna do that right now. Hammer the over. I appreciate your betting expertise on this. I appreciate you, man. I know it's a little later. I appreciate you taking your time, coming on the show, giving us your insight. You've been awesome. Your personality fits exactly what we're trying to do with the show, so thank you. I'd love to have you on again, maybe talk some basketball, maybe talk some baseball. I don't know if you cover baseball, but
oh yeah, I've been to Omaha a couple times down with these Hogs.
There we go. We'll have you back on during the baseball season because it seems like LSU baseball is going to be in a good spot. Arkansas is always in a good spot, so that'll be a good matchup. But Tyler, man, I appreciate it. Have a great night, and I want to tell you good luck this weekend, but I don't really hope that y'all lose, but I appreciate your time on the show.
Good luck to me with dealing with the temperatures at Razorback Stadium.
Yes, good luck with the cold.
Layer up.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it.